The grinding roar of a backhoe tearing into my backyard at dawn was the kind of wake-up call no one in Desert Horizon Estates expected. But the real nightmare was Vivian Whitaker, the undisputed queen of our homeowners association, standing there in her pressed khakis and pearl necklace, pointing with her ever-present clipboard as if she were redesigning the Garden of Eden itself for the benefit of the community. I threw on a shirt and marched out, heart pounding. "Vivian, have you lost your mind? That's my property you're destroying." She turned with the slow grace of a woman who believed she was untouchable. "Ryan Caldwell, lovely to see you. The board approved a state-of-the-art pollinator garden to support our local ecosystem and boost everyone's property values by at least 8%. Article 7, Section 3 clearly states we can initiate projects for the collective good. You weren't at the meeting, so we proceeded. Consider it an upgrade." "An upgrade? You're ripping out my xeriscape and digging 7 feet into my land. This isn't collective, this is theft with extra steps." Her eyes narrowed behind designer sunglasses. "Language, Ryan. We're civilized here. It's only a small strip. You weren't using it anyway." That night, I became a property law detective. Deed in hand, county GIS maps on my screen, measuring tape in the moonlight. Every line confirmed it. That dirt was mine, paid for, titled solely to me. No HOA easement in sight. The next morning, I dropped a certified letter at the post office that would change everything. The invoice was a masterpiece of petty precision. $2,875 per month for unauthorized commercial use of private land, calculated from local rates for event space and gardens, plus retroactive charges, labor disruption fees, and a convenience surcharge for their arrogance. Total initial bill, $4,200. Vivian was at my door before the dew burned off the gravel. "This is extortion," she snarled, her perfect bob haircut trembling with rage. "The HOA doesn't pay rent to residents. We set the standards." I sipped my coffee unfazed. "And residents don't let HOAs steal their backyards, Vivian. But here we are in reality. Pay the rent or get your equipment and your ego off my property by sundown. Clock's ticking on those late fees." She looked like she might pop a blood vessel. "You will regret this. The full board will address your insubordination." But the insubordination spread like wildfire in the desert heat. The treasurer accidentally CC'd the entire neighborhood on the invoice email. Suddenly my phone wouldn't stop buzzing with stories of $250 fines for non-compliant mailbox flags or grass that was a quarter-inch too tall. People who had stayed silent for years were finally talking. The emergency meeting in the community clubhouse was standing room only. Folding chairs creaked under the weight of long silent neighbors. Vivian took the podium like a televangelist. "This is about preserving our way of life against one individual's selfish agenda. The garden will be beautiful." From the back, I raised my voice calmly. "Beautiful on stolen land? Without permits? Let's talk facts." I passed around copies of my survey, damage photos, and the cease and desist order I'd had notarized, complete with county code violations already filed. The treasurer stood up, looking like a man who had seen the light. "I've reviewed the documents. Ryan owns that land outright. Furthermore, the contractor they hired isn't even licensed for this kind of work in Pima County, and no environmental impact study was done for the wash area. We're exposed here, Vivian." The room turned. A retired teacher chimed in. "How many other community projects have we paid for without proper votes?" Vivian tried to regain control with her favorite line. "I act in the best interest of all of us." Division like this is exactly what the bylaws are designed to prevent. "Funny," I replied. "The bylaws you love so much seem to have a lot of exceptions when it's your family getting the contracts." That was the crack in the dam. Over the following week the treasurer dug deeper. What started as checking the garden expenses snowballed into a forensic audit. Over $68,000 funneled to Southwest Eco Partners, a company registered to Vivian's brother. Bogus invoices for consultations and materials that never materialized. Luxury beautification, items delivered straight to her driveway. All rubber-stamped under her emergency powers. The recall petition gathered signatures in record time. At the special election, Vivian arrived with her small cadre of supporters, waving a printed copy of the covenants like a shield. "This is a witch hunt. I've dedicated years to this community." The vote was a slaughter. She was ousted 68-19. The cheering that erupted felt like justice served with a side of Arizona sunshine. But the universe wasn't finished with her yet. Once the new interim board took over, they brought in an independent auditor. The full extent was jaw-dropping. Nearly $142,000 in misappropriated funds over 4 years, some routed through accounts that smelled like federal crimes. The local police handed it to the Arizona Attorney General, who discovered interstate wires to shell companies. The morning the investigators showed up at Vivian's sprawling home with warrants was legendary. Neighbors lined the street as she was let out in handcuffs, still protesting that she was just trying to maintain standards, while her scarf slipped sideways and her pearls caught the flashing lights. The trial made the local news for weeks. Prosecutors laid out the paper trail with surgical precision, altered meeting minutes, forged signatures, and text messages where she bragged to her brother about milking the association dry. The jury took less than 2 hours. Guilty on multiple counts of fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. 7 years in state prison, full restitution, and her assets frozen. The HOA recovered most of the money, and Vivian's McMansion sold at auction to pay the victims, us. Desert Horizon Estates transformed almost overnight. The new board instituted ironclad transparency. Every expense online in real time, term limits of 2 years, and a mandatory 75% resident approval for any project touching private property. No more petty fines without due process. People started customizing their yards again. Actual flowers, creative rock designs, even a few defiant pink flamingos. I rebuilt my backyard better than before. Planted native wildflowers ironically where the trench once was, and placed a small, tasteful sign near the fence. This land protected by one invoice. As I sat there one crisp evening, watching the purple mountains glow, the treasurer dropped by. "You started a revolution with a piece of paper," he laughed, handing me a cold drink. "I just wanted my yard back," I said. But watching someone who weaponized community against everyone get buried by their own rules, that was the real pollinator garden, growing accountability. The neighborhood breathed easier. Lawns had personality. Meetings were debates, not decrees. Kids played freely. And Vivian? Last I heard, she was appealing from a cell, still convinced she was the victim of ingrates. Now I ask you, Storytime family, in the battle between the HOA enforcer who stole land and money while preaching rules for thee, and the guy who fought back with the very system she abused, who is the true abuser of power? True or false, the most dangerous Karens are the ones with clipboards and good intentions? Drop your thoughts below. Who really got what they deserved?